we're going to dive right into a demonstration of our new mobile app. Assemble is introducing a mobile viewer for your model data. This is on iPad, so iOS, iPad, and iPhone. And what you're able to do is access your site, your projects, and ultimately your model views in one easy-to-use, seamless application built specifically for iOS. So what you're seeing here, and I'm going to go through a demo here in just a second, but just to kind of set it up, you're seeing the Assemble inventory there on the left side, and that's however you have your view structured, your grouping that you might do in Assemble already. That's going to be how that data is rolled up. So in this case, we're grouped by, it looks like bid packages on the left side there, and I have my grouping information and my quantity associated. And then on the right side is our 3D viewer. With this, we've actually did a lot of work to make it seamless to navigate in and through large models. One other thing that was very important to us in rolling out a mobile application is the ability to access and edit properties. What you're likely wanting to do, and what we've heard from our customers, is the idea of adding information, coding, installation dates, status information, issues, comments, things that you might push to potentially Procore or other systems directly from our interface, our mobile app, and streaming that back to our web service and across your project. So as soon as you enter this data, it's ultimately accessible by the rest of the team. Part of this mobile launch is that we know you're already using applications in the field, and a partner of ours, Procore. Procore is again, web-based product that allows you to manage your projects and project data both on web and on mobile. And we're allowing you guys now, just like we do on our web product, the ability to launch and access your views from the Procore interface. In the past, many of you have told us that you have more users that are in Procore across your project team, including your subs and others that you ultimately haven't invited to Assemble. And to streamline the integration or the ability for them to access those views, you can ultimately share them here in the Procore interface. From this, it's going to launch the Assemble iPad app, and you're going to have access to that same information, whether you're coming in from Procore without an Assemble login or coming in from Assemble with that login. So let me just transition really quick, and I'm going to have a live demo. This is from my iPad, so you guys should now be seeing my iPad on the screen. And this is our application. So as I mentioned, and kind of setting this up, on the left side here, you have your inventory, and I can select things, and I can drill down into individual components. Let's get my wall slightly better. So I can select all of my walls, or I can dig into specific ones, or ultimately by double tapping on down, I can jump right into those particular objects. And then, as I mentioned in the navigation, so navigating, you have your typical orbit, pan, zoom that you would expect to see. But we've also done things to really tightly integrate with the rooms that you might have in your model, or applying to objects that you've selected. So I'm going to double tap an object here, and I'm going to say enter. And I can ultimately select an associated room that's attached to a particular object. So when I tap enter dining, it's going to fly me right inside that room. And as I step into a room, I actually can use the gyroscope in the iPad to turn around. So I'm actually in a swivel chair right now, so I'm just turning and spinning around in the room. You do have the ability, if you're actually inside that room and you wanted to do that, you can use your finger to orient yourself to whichever direction you're looking, and then pan and navigate just that way. So we're using the gyroscope there. And another feature, if you look at the far right side of my screen, right in the middle, you see a little paper airplane. It's turned off right now. If I tap that button, it's going to turn it on, and that's actually going to allow me to tilt forward and walk. And again, I can turn side to side and navigate. I can tilt back to walk backwards, and ultimately use the iPad capability to navigate through the model. So I'm going to turn that off really quick, and I'm going to step outside of the room. Many of you guys may need to navigate through a model without using, selection, or it might be a room deeper inside of the project. And so we've also given you a couple of other options. You can see at the top of my inventory, I have a toggle button where I have objects or rooms. I can select that rooms tab and flip through and ultimately go into individual rooms. And I select the three dots there and say enter room. And that's going to take me right inside of that room. I can search for the room a couple of different ways. So if I say find room, I can just do a type in and search. Or my favorite here, and I know a lot of you guys are starting to use this out on your job sites, is actually use QR codes and barcodes to scan and associate room data. So what we're going to do is actually say scan code. I have a really quick sample that I've just mocked up in my office here. And I'm going to say scan code, and you're going to see my camera come up. And you can actually see I'm here inside the Assemble office. And we're going to go over to my door. I've got to take my headset off for just a second. What we're going to do is we're going to scan my QR code that's on the inside of my door frame there. And it's going to take us to that particular room that I've associated to that QR code. All right, so as we walk over here, all right, we're going to get our QR code. And then that's going to actually take us to that room that's associated with that code in the model. So again, now that I've entered the room, I can turn around and move around in the room, and I can still select objects. So if I tap something, I can actually say enter and go into the room that's associated or adjoining that particular object. Move very quickly through those spaces. Additionally, I'm going to do one more selection here. So I know a lot of you guys actually use commissioning or barcodes for tracking work packages or things that you actually have in your model that you're grabbing that barcode from an object or associating that barcode to an object for that process. And when it reloads here, we're going to step up and we're actually going to look at a light fixture. So on the side of that light fixture, let's imagine that it's either in the commissioning process or post-construction. We want to go find that fixture and we want to associate or access the properties and leverage those properties for adding or editing data. So in this case, instead of selecting on rooms, I'm on objects here, and I'm going to use this button to say I want to scan code. And again, this time I'm going to actually stick my head up inside the ceiling here, and you can see that I pulled that ceiling tile off, and I have a barcode on the side of that light fixture. And what I want to do is go find the ballast type or go find information about the manufacturer of that light fixture. So I'm going to go scan that code. All right, so I've scanned the code now, and it's actually selected that particular object. And you can see I actually have the ability to say I want to isolate. And that's going to actually cut a section plane around that object. So anything that you have selected, you can always choose to isolate and section it down. You can control these section planes. If you look at the top and the bottom, we have a vertical and horizontal, and essentially the X and Y and Z directions. And I can turn those on or off. And if you notice here that I've turned off the plane so I can actually see the full floor plan of where that object is selected, I can kind of get more reference about that particular object. All right, and then ultimately the idea here and what I want to do is access the properties. So this is live data pulled from Assemble, so as people are adding or editing properties across their job site, they're accessible here. And you have both your Assemble properties, your model instance properties, and your model type properties. And so I can see the assembly code here associated, and you can actually see we have some pretty intelligent structure still. We're using our tree structure and assembly codes, just like we would on our web browser. And so you can associate codes here. You know, same kind of type of thing, like color override has a color picker. And I have the ability to come in here and look at my ballast information or add or change any of the properties that I would need to during commissioning process or QA/QC or ultimately a punch list process type of mentality. So I have all of this data here, manufacturer information, the model number, everything associated with this light fixture is right here on my mobile device. In the case that you actually need to go in and add a property, if you select that property, you're going to get a list of all of the values that we've used on the model, or I can key in the value and ultimately just key it in by hand. Or just like I scanned scan the barcode to find a value, I could scan a barcode to associate a value. So I could actually scan a code just to plug those pieces of information into the model. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here.